The Whispering Wraith of Blackthorn Woods. Gather close, friends, and let the fire's glow hold back the shadows, because the story I'm about to tell isn't one to hear alone in the dark. It's about Blackthorn Woods, a dense, sprawling forest just beyond the edge of our little town, where the trees grow so thick they seem to choke out the sun itself. The locals don't talk much about it, not unless you press them, and even then, they'll lower their voices and glance over their shoulders. They'll tell you about the Whispering Wraith, a creature that's haunted those woods for generations, and the reason why no one with sense ventures past the tree line after dusk. YouTube viewers, be sure to subscribe, like, and share this video with your friends. It started, they say, over a century ago, back when the town was just a cluster of cabins, and the woods were even wilder than they are now. A logger named Elias Crow, a burly man with a temper as sharp as his axe, went missing one autumn night. He'd been working deep in Blackthorn, felling trees with a crew, when he got into a fight over some trifling matter, a card game, a debt, or maybe a woman, depending on who's telling the tale. Elias stormed off into the forest, swearing he'd rather sleep among the wolves than share a fire with his crew. That was the last anyone saw of him. The search parties found nothing but his axe, blade buried in a stump, the handle slick with something that wasn't sap. At first, folks figured he'd gotten lost or mauled by a bear, but then the whispers started. Loggers working late claimed they heard a voice, low, guttural, like it was scraped from the bottom of a grave, calling their names from the shadows. It wasn't loud, but it cut through the wind and the rustling leaves, clear as a bell. Those who followed it never came back the same. Some returned wild-eyed, babbling about a figure that moved too fast, too silent, with eyes that glowed like embers in the dark. Others didn't return at all. The legend grew as legends do. The Whispering Wraith, they called it, a creature born from Elias's rage, or maybe his blood, cursed to haunt Blackthorn forever. It wasn't a ghost, not exactly. Ghosts don't leave claw marks on trees or footprints that sink too deep into the earth. It was something else, something older. Something that didn't belong to our world. The townsfolk learned to avoid the woods at night, and parents scared their kids with stories of the Wraith to keep them from wandering too far. But every few years, someone would get curious, or cocky, or desperate, and they'd venture into Blackthorn. Few came back, and those who did spoke of the whispers, the eyes, and a feeling of being hunted. Now let me tell you about the summer of '98 when I was just a kid, barely 16, and thought I was invincible. Me and my friends, Jake, Sarah, and Tommy, were the kind who laughed at ghost stories and rolled our eyes at the old folks' warnings. Blackthorn Woods was just a patch of trees to us, a place to sneak beers and feel like rebels. One night, drunk on cheap lager and teenage bravado, we made a bet. We'd camp in Blackthorn, right in the heart of it, to prove the Wraith was nothing but a fairy tale. We grabbed our sleeping bags, a flashlight, and a half-baked sense of adventure, and hiked into the woods as the sun bled red across the sky. The first hour was all laughs and bravado. We found a clearing, set up a fire, and passed around a flask Tommy had swiped from his dad. The woods were quiet, save for the usual chorus of crickets and the occasional hoot of an owl. But as the night deepened, the air grew heavy, like a storm was brewing, though the sky was clear. The fire seemed to dim, no matter how much wood we piled on, and the shadows between the trees felt wrong, too thick, too still, like they were watching us. Sarah was the first to hear it. She froze, her beer halfway to her lips, and whispered, "You guys hear that?" We stopped, straining our ears. At first, nothing. Then, faint but unmistakable, a voice. Not words,